Look at a standard 19th century English watercolor landscape, and you will see fluid, wet-on-wet washes. The water does the heavy lifting, bleeding pigments together across highly textured paper to create soft, pastoral skies and gentle horizons. Then you look at the work of Eric Ravilious. His landscapes are geometric, deeply textured, and aggressively crisp. Every blade of grass and chalk path is defined with sharp, rigid precision. He famously hated oil paint, complaining that using it felt like painting with toothpaste. Yet he entirely avoided the wet, fluid application that watercolor is historically known for. To understand the luminous landscapes and the stark wartime records he left behind, we have to look closely at how he held his brush. He approached the medium with a completely different mechanical mindset. He was engraving with paint. Redefining his process from painting to engraving with paint exposes the abrasive friction built directly into the paper. In 1922, Ravilious won a scholarship to the Royal College of Art in London. Crucially, he was admitted to the design school, not the School of Painting. He spent his early career mastering wood engraving and designing ceramics for companies like Wedgwood. These commercial commissions required him to prioritize graphic clarity and distinct readable line work over loose, emotional expression. When he took his watercolors out to the chalk hills of the South Downs, that commercial design training acted as a strict visual filter. He saw the natural world as a series of rigid patterns, interlocking fences, and sharp geometric forms. He did not sit in a field to passively absorb a mood. Instead, he approached a blank piece of paper with the precision of a designer executing a structural blueprint. This animated diagram shows how he achieved that structure using a dry brush technique. Instead of soaking the paper, he applied paint with very little water, depositing parallel, striated marks that sit firmly on the surface without bleeding. He layered these marks methodically. He built up the structural density of a hillside or a greenhouse, using scored, striated, cross-hatched strokes. Then he went in reverse. Using a sharp tool or a dry, stiff brush, he physically scraped the applied paint right back off the paper. Exposing the bare, unpainted paper underneath created his signature highlights. Those pure white negative spaces act like an internal light source, making the image appear to glow from within. His creation process was physically abrasive. The act of making the art involved scratching, scoring, and scraping the surface. By embedding that abrasive physical tension into the paper, he achieved a style often categorized as magic realism, a genre where ordinary objects are depicted in a way that hints at something slightly strange or uncanny lurking underneath. It perfectly captured the atmosphere of an England teetering on the brink of profound, violent change. In December 1939, as World War II began, Ravilious was appointed as one of the first official war artists for the British government. His precise, highly controlled style proved highly effective for documenting the new reality. He captured the tight, artificial claustrophobia inside submarines and the stark, menacing geometry of coastal defense batteries. He refused to stay safely behind a desk. He embedded himself in the action, flying in military aircraft and sailing into the Arctic Circle to observe naval convoys firsthand. In September 1942, he volunteered for an air-sea rescue mission out of a base in Iceland. His Lockheed Hudson aircraft flew out over the Atlantic and vanished, making him the first British war artist to die on active service. His sudden death at age 39 stopped his artistic evolution instantly. The body of work he left behind remains a frozen, uncorrupted record of a lost England as it collided with the heavy machinery of the modern age. For decades after the war, as the art world embraced large-scale abstraction, Ravilious languished as a shared secret. Today, however, major museum exhibitions and a growing publishing industry have brought his vision to a new audience. A major driver of his 21st century popularity comes from a strange technical irony involving platforms like Instagram and Twitter. This side-by-side breakdown illustrates the effect. Traditional fluid watercolor often loses contrast and looks muddy on a backlit phone screen, but Ravilious's high-contrast hatched line work and scraped-back white spaces naturally amplify the screen's luminosity. He developed an intensely physical analog technique in the 1930s that happens to be perfectly optimized for digital consumption almost a century later. Ravilious meticulously scratched and scraped away the paint to find the light in a darkening world. In doing so, he engineered a crisp, glowing vision that shines brighter for modern audiences than ever before.